The truth I'm about to share may upset you, shock you, or finally open your mind. If you're not wealthy, it's because your mind has been programmed to stay that way. Wealth is your birthright, but you were trained to question it, to limit yourself, and to accept scarcity as normal. You were born full of genius potential, fearless and limitless, but over time you were taught to fear, settle, and think small. For years, my life reflected a misprogrammed mind. I believed being born poor was a lifelong sentence I had no power to change. I thought some were born to have it all and others, like me, were born to struggle, survive, and accept crumbs. What set me free was realizing that I was conditioned to fail, not out of malice but out of ignorance, passed down by others. Maybe you too were told that money is dirty, that wanting more is greedy, and that settling is a virtue to be proud of. You may have heard phrases like, "Those who want too much lose everything," or "money doesn't bring happiness," repeated until they became subconscious walls. I remember sitting in a fire station earning around $4,000 a year while owing nearly $6,000, trapped and hopeless. It felt like life was saying, "You're not meant for this, Bob, just accept it." But a louder voice inside me refused to stay quiet. That's when I heard something that changed everything. There are exact laws that govern wealth, and it made me pause and think. If there are laws, then wealth isn't luck. It's a matter of understanding and applying the right principles in the right way. I started studying and reflecting, and found that every result I had was just a reflection of how I saw myself deep down. What controls your life isn't conscious effort, but the background program running in your subconscious. And this isn't mysticism, it's neuroscience. I wrote on a card, "I will earn $25,000 by year end," and 1 year later I was earning $175,000. The whole universe began to align itself with a new rhythm, and I ask you to reflect. How many times have you tried to change your life only to fall back into old patterns? How many New Year's resolutions have collapsed by the second month? It's not because you're weak, but because you're planting a new seed in soil poisoned by beliefs of lack. Here's a suggestion. Write this on paper. Wealth is my birthright. I welcome it into my life now. Stick it to your mirror and read it aloud daily for 7 days with conviction. Speak it with energy and notice the shift. Maybe nothing around you changes immediately, but if something inside you moves, the outer world will follow in time. The mind is the soil, life is the fruit. The biggest trap is thinking your current reality defines your identity, when in truth, your self-image shapes your world. If you redefine who you believe you are, your entire reality begins to transform. That's how powerful belief is. It's the architect of experience. Most people live trapped in a mental loop of worry, bills, debts, limitations. I was like that too for many years, only seeing the pit instead of the way out. That mindset isn't just a bad habit, it's a system of thought. The mind works with pictures, and whatever dominates your mental imagery becomes your lived truth. When you think poverty, you live it. When you think abundance, your actions align. So ask yourself, what's the main movie playing in your head all day? When you see your empty wallet, do you feel despair or anticipate the blessing it's making space for? How do you respond to a negative bank balance? The problem isn't money. It's your emotional reaction and the meaning you give to it. Your emotion is magnetic. It attracts your circumstances. For years I repeated silently, "That life isn't for me." I saw luxury, wealth, success, and believed it was for others and not me. But I never questioned why. Was it a lack of money or a lack of inner vision? If you can't imagine yourself in a better place, you won't move toward it. You need a mental destination. I remember sitting in a military restroom, holding a card that read, "I will earn $25,000 by year's end." I read it daily without initial belief. But repetition made it familiar, and familiarity made it feel possible, and that became reality. A year later, I had earned over $175,000. That wasn't magic, it was mental tuning. Neuroscience shows that the brain doesn't distinguish between reality and imagined experience if emotion is present. So if you visualize abundance daily, with detail and feeling, your brain rewires itself with new connections and opens paths you didn't see before. You start acting in ways that align with who you're becoming, and those actions produce new outcomes, aligned with a life of expansion and opportunity. This isn't about waiting for cash to fall from the sky. It's about training your mind to see chances where you once only saw obstacles. With a mind tuned to prosperity, you'll spot open doors, ideas, and connections you were blind to before, all because you shifted your inner frequency. Now you'll dare to do what once held you back because your identity is no longer the same, and everything starts with how you think. Look around you. Everything was created twice, first in the mind, then in the physical world. The phone in your hand, the house you live in, the car you drive, it all began with an idea, just like your financial life must. Your finances must be created first in your mind, with emotion, with clarity, and with conviction, just like any reality. For 21 days, take 5 minutes daily to imagine your dream life. Not just imagine, but truly feel it as if it's real. Visualize waking up where you want, seeing the balance you desire, making the decisions you've always dreamed of. What would it smell like? What sounds would you hear? What would things feel like? The more detailed, the more real it becomes to your brain. The more real it feels, the more you behave like that version of yourself. But most people want change without changing their thinking. They still see themselves as victims, as poor, as sufferers, and no real transformation happens without an internal revolution. Life changes when you change, and you change when you change what you think about every day. Money is an extension of your awareness. It reflects how you relate to it, so treat it as a partner, not your master. When you give in to fear, scarcity, or guilt, you lose command. You were created to lead your life, not be ruled by circumstances. Clarity in thinking, intention in feeling, and precision in creation. This is where your power lies and where wealth begins. The abundance you seek is not outside you. It's within and always has been. Now it's your turn to take the lead. How many opportunities have you missed because you thought you weren't good enough or compared yourself to others ahead of you? I know this feeling well. For years, I let fear paralyze me. Fear of failing, fear of rejection, and especially fear of judgment. Comparison is a cruel trap. You always compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, never seeing the full picture. You see the success but not the setbacks, the spotlight but not the silence, the applause but not the lonely moments behind it. And in doing so, you shrink yourself, doubt your value, sabotage your progress, and stop before you begin. The biggest mistake is believing successful people had it all figured out. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company, not by choice. But he used that moment to reinvent himself. If fear had won, the world might never have known the impact he would still make. I saw myself as a failure, expelled from school without a future, a firefighter in debt of around $1,200. But change began when I stopped looking outward and started aligning with who I wanted to become, not competing with others. Comparison puts you in a race with no finish line, but personal responsibility puts you on the path of real growth. Fear isn't saying stop, it's saying there's growth here, and now you get to grow through it. Whenever you feel fear about something new, look at it with kindness and ask yourself, what is really behind this fear? Is it fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of pain, or perhaps even fear of success? Yes, some people fear winning because victory demands transformation, leaving behind who you are to become someone new. Positive psychology teaches that resilience, self-compassion, and courage are fundamental pillars for emotional and financial well-being. It is not failure that destroys, but how you interpret it. If you judge yourself, you freeze, but if you learn, you expand. I remember the moment before my first speech. My body trembled, hands sweaty, and I wanted to run away. But I recalled that the body reacts as if facing death, while often it is just the ego trying to protect itself. So I went on stage, scared, but I spoke, cried, trembled, yet I spoke, and that day became a turning point. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. Fear will always be there. The difference lies in who you choose to be despite it. Comparison shows you haven't recognized your own worth. There is no other you in the world. This is not a cliche, but a responsibility. If you don't take your place, the world will lack what only you can offer. Looking back, I see how many times I almost gave up or hid, but every time I chose to act despite trembling, something inside me grew that no one can take away. So next time you catch yourself comparing, stop, breathe, and remember, your path is unique and not meant to be like anyone else's. Fear, when embraced, becomes momentum. Comparison, when overcome, becomes admiration. And you, when you accept yourself, become freedom. I lived this when I set a goal to earn $25,000, roughly equivalent to 28,000 Canadian dollars. My life was chaotic, but I read, believed, and acted. I changed my language, habits, and decisions, and the world started to reflect the new image within me. Invest in yourself even when fear holds you back, because the cost of taking action is high. But the cost of not acting is even higher, living a life below your true potential. I met a boy named Eric, who at the age of 11 was diagnosed with learning difficulties, and his family was told he would not go far. But he attended one of my seminars, absorbed what we taught, applied it, wrote down goals, repeated affirmations, and believed in himself. The result? He became an honor student, earned scholarships, entered university, and transformed his label of limitation into an advantage. Why? Because he took action. And that's what you need to do now. Stop waiting to feel confident. Confidence comes after action. Don't wait for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. What exists is the now. If you act now, even with the smallest step, you break the stagnation. Read your goal, visualize your objective, feel the achievement, and act every day. Small changes repeated consistently produce great results. Use the law not only to wish but to plan and act. Don't let knowledge turn into mental dust. Make it the bricks of a new reality. Brick by brick. Remember, you're not here to accumulate theory, you're here to build your vision, and every building requires action. Everything you want is already available, but you need to become compatible. That means thinking differently, feeling differently, acting differently. Start small, but start. You were made to manifest. Manifestation is the meeting between a creative mind and a determined attitude. This meeting only happens when you commit to applying what you learn. Don't wait any longer. React, transform, live, and prove your power to yourself. Prove that everything you once thought was unreachable was just waiting for you to take the first step. Transformation lives in movement. It's not what you know, but what you apply. Even with doubts, when you act, the universe responds with clarity. Now that this truth is inside you, keep going. The next video is about to appear. Follow it and climb another step in your journey of growth.